to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. We are 1 week away, heading down the home stretch for the election, and it is next Tuesday where we're hoping the red tsunami is going to overwhelm the country.
I hope so, Bill. I did have to early vote. It's not my favorite thing, but I am working the election, so sometimes you have to make sacrifices in order to do the right thing. So I did vote yesterday. The line went pretty quickly. It was, and the ladies were lovely where I voted. So, go vote. I got my Georgia Peach sticker saying that I voted, so that's very exciting. Mm-hmm. And it was very easy. I was out of there. I mean, I think that when you do the research on the amendments, that is the hardest part. I saw so many people that were just like sitting there like, I don't know what this is saying. I don't know what I should do here.
They cleverly word these things so if you vote yes, you're voting no, and if you vote no, you're voting yes. It's so you do need to do your due diligence on looking up those amendments and seeing what they're all about.
Yes, absolutely. And it will save you a lot of time, and you'll be in and out of the voting booth very quickly. It will also help move the line along. So make sure that you're looking at those amendments before you go vote. And if you want some perspective on the SEGRA website, segra.us, there are some opinions there if you'd like to get started.
Hope everybody had a good time with trick-or-treating last night. We had a good crowd come to our house, and we live in a nice subdivision. It's not gated. But we have lots and lots of kids come around, and what is so comforting to me, something that my wife Pam said, that I'm glad that we have a lot of black kids come in, and I'm glad they feel comfortable coming into our neighborhood and going and trick or treating, and everybody was so polite and having so much fun. And our daughter has a white lab, who is Charlie, who is just the sweetest thing, and she just stands at the door, and so many kids, some of them were kind of backing off a little bit, said she's very gentle, she won't come out, and they, well, can I pet your dog? And so she was the big hit last night of the Halloween crowd. I did love all the different costumes that the kids were showing up in. And especially the one early on, a young girl, I guess she was about 5-6 years old. She's in a Georgia cheerleading uniform. Her brother is in a Georgia football uniform. It was really cool.
Oh, that's so cute. Yes, my neighborhood was actually like quite hopping last night. Mm-hmm. I was actually quite surprised, but there was cars rolling into our neighborhood, parking at the beginning of our neighborhood, walking our whole neighborhood. We had a gal that had a DJ booth set up. They had their driveway lined with these long posts that like put out light. It was something else, Bill. We had hot cocoa in my neighborhood. I mean, and everyone just sits outside in their driveway and hands out candy. So you don't even have to go to the door. It was very cute. And like you said, seeing the little kids in their costumes, lots and lots of Spider-Man, Batman, those types of things in my neighborhood. But it was really fun, really cute. Lots of witches. Always a good time. Mm-hmm. Always a good time. I love Halloween, and just seeing all the little kids getting excited about yelling trick or treat and getting their candy.
For sure. All right. Well, it is the first day of November, so welcome to the merry month of November. We have Thanksgiving coming up here in just about a little over 3 weeks. A search has entered the third week now for Quentin Simon, the almost 2-year-old who disappeared, and we have seen hide nor hair of him since. There's nothing much new to report, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. And, I understand why they're not bringing in cadaver dogs, but I think that it would be helpful. But.
The reason that they can't is because there is so much trash because they're looking through a landfill. If you're not familiar with the story right now, they believe that the child was put in the theory goes right now, and this is strictly theory, that the mom and her boyfriend were neglecting the child. They were high on something. Child drowns in the bathtub. They try to cover it up, put him in a bag, and then throw him in a dumpster. And he gets thrown. He gets taken to this landfill here. But then it's another 2 weeks. It's almost a week or so before they start searching the landfill. How many more piles of trash came in on top of him if he is there? And so getting all that stuff out of the way first, it's the proverbial needle in the haystack.
Yeah, and just a sad story, right,
Oh,
Bill?
it is.
And
and protesters outside the house. Some have been arrested. Others are standing further back. If you don't have anything better to do with your time, for goodness sakes, go to the library and learn. Start taking an online course in something. There are businesses. There's not a business I know of. It doesn't have a help wanted sign hanging in the window somewhere. Please, go find yourself a job and do something useful for a change. Let the police do their work. Eventually, the truth will come out.
Yeah, and I think it really is a distraction, right, Bill?
Oh, it
like
is.
having to deal with the protesters. And, you and I had talked about this earlier. Maybe they shouldn't have released that she was considered the prime suspect until they were ready to make an arrest or had more evidence. But, these cases are so tough, Bill, and, hopefully the outcome is better than we hope. I don't think it will be, but
I think there's a good reason why where there's been no arrest. The police have their reasons. We'll find out later. So let's let them do their work.
Absolutely. And, something that, and the landfill is actually, because of this search, they are being very careful on who goes in and all of that. So
exactly.
Kind of transitioning to the election. So there have been a lot of Herschel Walker signs pulled up. I mean, no surprise there.
No.
But they've ended up in the landfill. So, people have gone in to get the signs because we don't have any more signs coming out this election. So they've had to go in, retrieve the signs because they are taking them and setting them aside so that people can go redistribute those. But I know that there was a huge restriction on the landfill, and so it kind of complicated things. But, hopefully this search, they come up with something and that it comes to an end at some point, Bill. I mean, 3 weeks in.
I thought the tolerant left, as they are accusing after the break-in at the house of Nancy Pelosi, where there are so many questions that we're wondering about now. How does a guy find out this guy's he's a Biden voter, illegal alien
from Canada?
Although they tried to, he should have been deported years ago. Got all sorts of issues. The neighbors say he was not a MAGA guy. That's another Jesse Smollett. They tried to make this another Jesse Smollett thing. This big MAGA guy comes in and yelling, "Where's Nancy?" And then, of course, naturally, they have to politicize this thing and connect it with January the 6th. Oh, he came in with zip ties. I am, the guy who was arrested trying to assassinate one of our Supreme Court justices also had zip ties. He also had guns. He also had knives. I didn't see anybody in the lamestream media getting their shorts in a wad over that one and saying how our precious democracy was being threatened. They were applauding it. And then they're talking about, and Rand Paul, who's, by the way, Nancy Pelosi's daughter, said that she was happy when that happened and that he deserved it. He said, at least, he said, I want Paul Pelosi to get well. And because he knows how bad it is. I didn't realize how seriously Rand Paul was.
Oh, yeah.
Was
he was close to
death.
Yep.
He was coughing up blood and broke, I think, 6 ribs.
Yep.
2 of them were separated. He lost part of his lung. He said he still has issues, and to this day. And yet that wasn't considered an attack on our democracy. It was applauded by the media. And shame on you.
Well, I think also this Pelosi story is just really interesting. And we're seeing a lot of crazy theories coming out, which I think we really need to see. In San Francisco, they have a law in place that they must wear, the police must wear their body cams and they must always be on. Mm-hmm. So why are we not seeing the body cam footage come out? And I think that will tell us the whole story. And also, there's a lot of contradictory things coming out as far as, there was a third person that opened the door, those types of things that, it feels like they're trying to cover up some information. I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to speculate, but I think this is just really interesting, Bill, that we're a week out from an election. This happens, and there's not Paul Pelosi's had a rough year. Let's be honest. He's had a rough year.
But besides the drunk driving thing, how does this perp get into this gated community in the first place? And then how does he make into a multi-million-dollar house that's supposed to have that? This woman is second in line to be president of the United States.
Third.
God forbid. But there's no security there.
Well, and then I believe I saw a story yesterday that said that the cameras weren't working. They malfunctioned.
How convenient.
They always malfunction at the worst time,
Don't
Bill.
they, though? Or there weren't any cameras around at this particular place, so they malfunction at the worst times. Wow, isn't that just strange? Those cameras at the prison in Chicago, when when
January 6th.
yeah.
I mean, those cameras
Golly,
malfunction. So weird.
where's all the footage we need to see of that, of the Antifa people that were changing clothes into MAGA outfits on January the 6th? Where's that footage?
Yeah, well, and also the weird thing is too is so they found this guy in his underwear in their house. It's like, okay, so did he come with clothes and take them off, or did he travel with no clothes on? Like, there's just a lot of questions that I have, Bill, that I'm not really sure make a whole lot of sense. And I think they're trying to put puzzle pieces together to make it make sense, and it's just not working.
But it's January the 6th all over again, because he's saying, "Where's Nancy?" That's what we heard on January the 6th, and Nancy wasn't around at that time. And why were their cameras? Why were the cameras working in her office that day? It's another question that we need to answer as well. Things that make you go,
Yeah, and I think that this is a good reason why we do need Republicans in office, because we do need investigations as to what actually happened. We need footage released to the public, because I think that will allow people to make their own mind up about what actually happened. And I think that that's what has to happen, Bill. You cannot tell people this is what you're going to think. This is the conclusion you have to come to. We need to see evidence, and we need to be able to make up our own minds of what we believe happened.
America deserves better from its media than they're getting, and that's why we're here on Get Real America. We want you to get real. We want to give you the whole story, and we want to get the truth out to you as soon as possible.
Yes, and sometimes it takes time, right, Bill?
It does.
Especially when you're not getting the information needed from, some of these requests that you're putting in for public information. They send it back. They give you very vague information. You have to go back. I mean, it's a big game they play, Bill.
Hard to believe
trying to get this information.
Hard to believe the initial reports on most of these stories when they first come out, because usually they are wrong on so many levels. It's pathetic. It's the idea of you want to get the story first. Anybody that's in this business, if you're in the news business, you always want to get the big scoop. You always want to get the story first. But to me, before you get it first, you need to get it right. And the fact that we can come back later and apologize, it doesn't cut it. I'm sorry.
The damage is done. There's a lot of damage that happens when stories are released, or
you can't unring a bell, as Paul Harvey used to say.
Well, also there's this narrative, and it's unfortunate, but the second that story came out about Paul Pelosi, the first thing was it was a MAGA Republican. I mean, that's always going to be the story, and I think that, it's irresponsible, and it's unfair, Bill. This guy was actually a nudist, from what I understand.
Yeah.
He,
so the fact that he was so well dressed,
LGBTQ, I don't think you could get. He was a member of the Green Party, from what I understand. So, and
they're so far to the left, they're out past Mars someplace.
Well, I'm like, there's no way that you can paint this guy as a right wing lunatic, right?
They'll sure give it a shot. They turn themselves into pretzels trying to explain all of this, and it's pathetic. What we're getting from our media is just disgusting. You would think that they would do some random, at least once in a while, just law of averages said they would do some random act of journalism. And we'll talk more about that coming up. And also,
all the news going on at Twitter.
Yeah, as well. And Chicago living down to its reputation.
When we get back.
I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
I admired Herschel from the beginning. Herschel has always been challenged about doing things that people thought he wasn't capable of doing. He wants to be the best, and he has striven to do that, disciplined himself to do that, falls sometimes along the way, but he gets back up, and with his incredible drive and self-discipline, he has achieved mighty things. He's a real patriot of this country. He loves the United States of America. He also is realistic that it can be better. He is not a, quote, politician. There is a need in this country. There is need in this state for somebody like Herschel. Knowing him, the character that he has, he will make a great United States Senator.
Say no to T-SPLOS.
That's right, no.
The last 3 years, Georgia's been tested in ways we could never imagine. And it fell to Governor Brian Kemp to successfully lead us during these troubling times. Georgia is still first in the nation for business. Our unemployment rate is the lowest in state history. Today, people come to Georgia to succeed, start a business, raise a family. Kemp has always backed the blue, stopping the radical left from defunding local police. He passed a tough new election integrity bill that, as the governor likes to say, made it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And while some during COVID-19 shut down their economy, Kemp kept our schools and businesses open while keeping Georgians safe. A long list of accomplishments. Fighting human trafficking, increasing teacher pay, greater access to quality health care. A governor who works for Georgians. All of us. Governor Brian Kemp.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking.
Today's training evolution, dogfighting, taking on the corporate media.
The rules of engagement are as follows. Number 1, don't fire unless fired upon, but when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill. Number 2, never ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or ask a question? Number 3, don't accept their narrative. It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts. It's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's turn up.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
1 week away from Election Day.
Oh, and I think we're going to see some shenanigans, Bill. I'm looking forward to it.
I tell you, the trends are leading toward the Republicans, and I think it's going to be a tsunami. People are simply tired. They can talk all they want to. When your big talking points on the Democrat side is abortion and abortion.
And January 6th.
Then you got nothing. Because inflation, unlike abortion or January 6th, affects everybody. People know when they're being lied to, when they roll up to the gas pump, and when they go to the grocery store, and they're having to make a choice between the two.
I mean, that's the thing. They should have gotten better talking points before they went into this election season, because I think they thought that abortion was really going to put them over the top, and it just is not energizing people the way that they thought it would.
Well, it shows you just how out of touch that they are and that the media is, but then again, I repeat myself.
Well, I mean, can you blame them, Bill? You have an echo chamber that you live in. You just hang out with people from D.C. and you basically listen to the news media that supports your narrative.
Yeah,
so
sure.
There you go.
And then we go somewhere else, you're in flyover country.
Yeah. Basically, that means to them, you don't matter. So there's that. Something else. So, Bill, the Twitter thing. I know you've heard a lot about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are losing their minds over Elon Musk taking over. I mean, meltdown level. But
check yourself into a facility. But of course, there isn't one. We eliminated those.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's interesting what Elon's doing, but he went in hot and heavy. He fired 4 major people in the executive level. And there has been some accounts that have come back. Conservatives are gaining more followers. Liberals are losing followers. So basically, I think that they're cleaning up the bots. We've seen this previously as well. Mm-hmm. The thing that I find interesting is that now there is stuff coming out that is saying that it is, I mean, they colluded with the government, and it's leaks from Twitter. So I don't know, Bill. I think that this is a huge issue when you have the government or people in the government facilitating censorship with big tech and them denying it as well. I believe that this is, people in the government are committing treason when they're doing things like this. I don't know any other way to look at this. Or
There's
why?
no other word for it.
Why would you want to do that?
Because power is an amazing aphrodisiac, and you want to hold on to it. As the old saying goes, that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And people are. This isn't anything new. There was a quote that goes back to the 1800s. It says, "Timid and interested politicians are far more concerned about the security of their seat than about the security of their country." It's not a new concept.
Well, we're seeing it in full spectrum play out right now, and
Well,
it
we
is
sure
dangerous.
are.
And
I've never seen, even for Democrats, I have never seen a party march in lockstep. When you can't get anybody on the Democrat side to stand up and say we're not going to defund the police, and now of course
they never said that, Bill.
They're trying
their
level best now to walk that back and try to blame it on Donald Trump. Donald Trump lives in their heads.
Rent free, by the way.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, because he would love to collect that rent.
Oh, yes, he would.
Could even be richer.
You know what? The good thing about Donald Trump, he probably would give it back to the government.
Yeah, he would.
Give it back to the people.
You know, he didn't take a paycheck when he was president.
Not. And he probably deserved one, let's be honest. All the shenanigans he dealt with.
Every month he gave that check to some sort of charity. Something. I think he's the first president to do that. You know who else did that? George Patton.
Oh, I did not know that.
General Patton was independently wealthy, I think from a Virginia plantation or wealthy Virginia family, and he never took a paycheck from the Army.
Wow.
He gave that back. And in fact, sometimes in the field, he would pay soldiers out of his own pocket in the field when the money didn't arrive in time.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
So, the only other guy that I knew about that I knew that did that, but good on him. And that back when we had a real president who knew what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, and so we have a clip from Lee Fang, who actually broke this story about the government having a connection with these
social
big tech,
media.
Yeah,
social media platforms. Mm-hmm. Yeah, check this out.
Lee Fang broke this story. He's an investigative journalist at The Intercept. He joins us tonight. Lee, thanks so much for coming on. This seems like a really important story, which is for some reason being ignored. Do we get the outlines right? The administration is working with the tech companies to censor people.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Tucker, we looked at really hundreds of documents that paint a vivid picture of the FBI, the DHS, closely collaborating with the top social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook, to censor various forms of content under the banner of fighting disinformation. And the story shows a couple of things. One, it shows what you just mentioned, a very cozy relationship between the government and these tech giants. There's those monthly meetings that you just mentioned, but also just very cozy emails and texts. Not a very adversarial relationship. You know, we looked at one text where Microsoft executive texts Jen Easterly, the top disinfo director at DHS appointed by Biden, basically saying the private sector needs to get more comfortable with the government. They're closely collaborating on reports talking about the expanded role for DHS in censoring a really broad collection of topic areas, of policy and political topics. And, you know, just broadly speaking, the story also just looks at the mission creep of DHS. This is an agency that was founded in the aftermath of 9/11 to combat foreign terror threats of Al-Qaeda and the like. But over the last 5 years, it's kind of evolved in its mission. It's moved towards fighting disinfo, and their justification is, you know, disinformation radicalizes the homeland. It can lead to disruptions in public health or in political violence. So they have a justification. We have these documents, and they're pushing forward with this broad censorship agenda.
Criticizing the people in charge is dangerous. You know, I don't know why you did this story at the Intercept. I'm just so grateful that you did. It's a great story. It's a huge public service. I hope you're rewarded for it. I doubt you will be, but you should be. Lee Fang, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
How does that make you feel, Bill?
Well, there's a good way to start the day.
Right. I think
this is so insidious that it's beyond description. Because if they can control this, I mean, we know that one of the reasons that people bought the Kool-Aid and voted for Joe Biden. The surveys that they did, something like 49% of the Biden voters had never heard of Hunter Biden. They kept that story secret. And Mark Zuckerberg already has admitted, said that, the FBI came to him at Facebook or Meta and said that we want you to make sure that these stories, you're going to hear a lot of these false narratives coming out. Hunter Biden story and the laptop. And we want you to make sure that those don't go on your platform. And he said, oh, yeah, okay, we'll do that, yeah. You're supposed to be able to believe the FBI. I want the FBI that CBS shows us on Tuesday nights. I don't want the one we have now.
No, and I think that when you start looking at this bill, is there a way to reform the FBI and the CIA and all of these departments that have really been infiltrated and turned into activism? I don't know that there is, Bill. I think that you have to kind of restructure and get rid of a lot of people.
I think you need to sell them to Elon Musk.
Well, I mean, he'd have to buy him from the Clintons, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But the other thing that I have noticed on Twitter, I have a tweet pulled up right now of Joe Biden, which says, we lost over 180,000 manufacturing jobs under the last guy. We've created 700,000 manufacturing jobs on my watch. So they've added context to this tweet. And it says, the tweet is conflating regaining lost jobs with creation of new jobs that never existed before. So they are fact-checking our president right now, which has not happened prior to Elon Musk taking over. So we are seeing some of this on the platform. However, they still have some rogue employees over at Twitter. Mark Fincham, who is running for Secretary of State, he was banned off Twitter yesterday, and they tweeted at Elon Musk, and he's like, I'm looking into it, and he was back as of last night. Mm-hmm. So they also have restricted some of the employees from having access to ban people. So, I mean, I think we're going to see a wild next week just because of the election and them trying to not have information out there. So it'll be interesting, Bill.
There's no telling what they're going to pull. And, of course, as we mentioned just before the break, at least 14 people were injured, including several children, in another mass shooting. And where else? That toddling town, the windy city of Chicago, where Mary Lightfoot is still in full command there. Is Mary right? That doesn't sound right.
What?
Lightfoot. Is Mary correct? I don't know.
No, her first name is not Mary. It's I don't even remember. I want to say it's Lori Lightfoot.
Lori Light, yeah, that's it, Lori.
Double L's.
Where Mary came from, I have no idea. That's the one that had the little lamb. But Chicago police say that, and this was a prayer vigil for a Halloween night prayer gathering, a drive-by shooting. That two guys started firing. One among those injured, and the injuries go from critical to non-life-threatening. So far, nobody's died, but that's only a matter of time, perhaps, because a 3-year-old was hit, an 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old was hit. And this is just another example. And I think there were 35 shootings over the weekend in Chicago, once again. Ms. Lighthead in full command.
Well, and I also think Andrew joined us last week and from We Vape, We Vote, and he actually lives in D.C., and he was saying, it's not that people are shooting at you, it's that they are shooting and you might be in the way. He's
Such lousy shots, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's something for people to think about when you're living in these cities. I know that they are actually looking to get out of D.C., which I do not blame them. They have small children. So.
Collateral damage. All right, Coming up next.
We are going to be talking with Larry. You interviewed him, and he is quite a human being. I enjoyed him a lot yesterday in the studio.
Larry Bonaroto, car salesman extraordinaire, wonderful human being, and he's got a book out on leadership that you are going to want to purchase. That's coming up.
Reckless spending, driving up inflation, higher prices that hurt Georgians.
I'm trying to save $2, and Senator Raphael Warnock votes to spend almost $2 trillion.
$140 to fill my truck. And Senator Warnock voted to allow $140 million to be spent building a resort in Florida?
$15 for burgers.
Senator Warnock voted to allow $15 million to be spent on a soccer stadium in New Jersey.
Tell Senator Warnock to stop voting for reckless spending. Stop.
Stop. Please stop.
At my core, I'm a runner, but I wasn't always fast. Here in Wrightsville, Georgia, is where I grew up, and I got real fast. I learned discipline, faith in God, and the value of hard work. I learned about sacrificing the things you want in the moment for the future you know you can have if you work hard enough. You might stumble, make mistakes, but you only fail if you give up. The politicians pick American against American, rich versus poor, black versus white. I don't believe in that garbage. I'm a conservative, not because someone told me to be. I'm a conservative because I believe in smaller government, a strong military, and making sure all people have the opportunity to pursue their dreams. My name is Herschel Walker. I'm a kid from a small town in Georgia who's lived the American dream, and I'm ready to fight to keep that dream alive for you too. I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
Governor, in recent weeks, 2 recordings have surfaced in which you left the door open, or you appeared to leave the door open, to questions about whether you'd push to ban emergency contraceptives and whether you'd back a statewide ban on the destruction of embryos. Can you tell us right now whether you'd push for these measures or any other additional restrictions on abortion now that the 2019 law is in effect?
No, I would not. I mean, look, we were at many campaign events, people come up, secret recordings, couldn't completely understand the conversation that's going on, but no, that's not my desire to do that. Georgians should know that my desire is to continue to help them fight through 40-year high inflation and high gas prices and other things that our Georgia families are facing right now, quite honestly, because of bad policies in Washington, D.C. from President Biden and the Democrats that have complete control. And thankfully, working with the Georgia General Assembly, we've been able to work to help give some relief to people despite what's happening in Washington, like giving a income tax credit back to our citizens, cutting taxes, also suspending the gas tax since March now, $800 million of relief for our hardworking citizens. So that is what my focus has been on, and it's what it will continue to be on.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have one of my best friends, dear gentleman here. We've known each other for longer than either one of us want to admit. Larry Bonaroto is with us, a salesman extraordinaire, selling cars here, and became a legend in the car business. Eh, Larry?
Well, I don't know about being a legend. You know what happens to legends? They die early, right? I'd like to be around for a day or two.
Well, you started did you get your start in the car business? How did this all come about?
No, actually, in college, where I went in North Alabama, I worked my way through school by being in the restaurant business. And restaurant business and the car business, 2 toughest businesses that I know of, other than possibly welding. Okay? Anyway, so I worked my way through college doing that. I got a chance to become a general manager in a restaurant in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, godforsaken place. You know, that's where the University of Alabama is.
Yeah, it sure is.
I think I just lost you half your audience here. But anyway, I worked my way through that and gradually was promoted to where I wound up on the Gulf Coast with 17 restaurants. And I had dark hair before that started, and you see what it looks like now. A lot of snow on the mountaintop there, big boy.
I'll tell you, the restaurant business, I mean, it's one of those places you probably have to be there all the time, don't you?
Unfortunately, that's right. Yeah, unfortunately, that's right.
Everybody gets hungry at the same time, and they all leave you at the same time, pretty much. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And then, of course, at night, the teenagers like to hang out, and that's a problem, too. But that's neither here nor there. Did that for 12 years. And when the dog bit me when I went home one day in Mobile, and the kids didn't know who I was, I figured I might want to get off the road because I was gone 6 out of 7 days a week. So I got into the automobile business and started selling and worked my way up. Did that for 41 years. I think you saw me at my last gig over at Granger
Nissan. Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Well, are there similarities?
Yes. Yeah, there are very similarities. You got it's all about customers. You cannot take a customer for granted one time because they will leave you. And if they leave you, they're not coming back. And you don't lie to customers. You don't lead them on. You take care of them from start to finish, and they know when somebody's taking care of them.
Well, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Larry, that is one of the things, and because you sell an item that people aren't going to. It's not like soap. It's not like food where people are coming back all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When you sell somebody a car, you're pretty much, they're done for 3 to 5 years or more, maybe. So, but there's something that goes beyond that when you say you're taking care of your customers.
Yeah, there is it's so much easier to take care of folks now, to take care of customers, because you have the web with email and social media and all the things that you have available to you. It's very easy to keep your name in front of them, but also to provide them better value. So, for instance, if you bought a car from me, then I would every 3 months make sure we sent you out a notice to get your oil changed, just to remind you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when I found out you were coming in, I would greet you in the service drive and shake your hand and welcome you and kind of go from there. The other thing is, automobile salespeople can't live on selling one car at a time. They have to sell somebody like yourself,
mm-hmm.
and hopefully you will refer them to your friends and family. I found this out early in the business when I worked for Bill Fuller, if you
mm-hmm.
remember Fuller Oldsmobile.
Yes, sir.
I sold a young lady who was just getting started teaching. I sold her a car, and within 30 days I'd sold her sister a car and also her daddy a car. So that told me that what I needed to do was work on customers and a customer relationship more so than just selling, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And Larry, you've taken all these years of experience now, and you have turned businesses around, car dealerships that weren't, that you got such a reputation in this business that you were able to take dealerships that were failing or at least floundering and bring them success again. And what was the secret there? How'd they find out about you, and how did you give me a war story?
Well, when you do the right things, hopefully somebody's going to notice. The 4 things that, and I've got them in my book, okay, the 4 things that you have to manage to be successful in any business all begin with a P. The first one is people, and that's where you got to start. People. That's attracting, hiring, training, retaining, motivating, organizing, retraining, cross-training. The first thing is people. So you work with people, and that is going to be the lifeblood of your business. The second thing is process. Even folks that have great people fall down sometimes because they don't have the right processes. The process is in place. You have to identify what it is you're trying to accomplish and what's the best way to do that. And if you're dealing with customers, you have to understand that the process also has to take into account what's best for the customer. Because if you do what's best for the customer and you can make a sale, then everybody wins. It's that win-win-win situation all the way around. The third thing is product or service. Service obviously doesn't begin with a P, but product does, okay? Mm-hmm. And if you can really identify what it is that you're selling, when you're selling an automobile, you're not really selling an automobile. You're selling a lifestyle. You find out from Bill or whomever what it is they want to do with the vehicle, what it's going to enable them to do that they're not able to do right now, and you build your process around what it is they're trying to accomplish. Now, when you help them accomplish what they want to accomplish, guess what? You just sold a car.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing is promotion. You and I have been in promotion business for a lot of years.
Have indeed.
Most people start with promotion. That is the last place you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have your people, your process, your product and service in place before you begin promoting. Because the last thing you want is to promote something, and then when people show up, what you told them they were going to get, they're not going to get. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
All right.
Well, and you've put this into a book. It's called Work With Me, Not For Me.
Yeah, that's the way I approach. That's the way I approached all the teammates that I've worked with. I worked with a good friend of ours, Dave Moon, and he actually brought me the title after we put together the book. And what it says is that I want some people that are going to fully participate, not just obey orders. I want them to participate because I don't have all the answers. Anybody who thinks they have all the answers is a fool.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have all the answers, but the people that work with me, I don't want them to work for me. I want them to work with me. I want them to come to me with information. I want them to tell me when something's not right. And I want to have that, it's one thing to have an open door policy, but if you slam the door in their face after they get in, or you don't listen and they feel like you're not listening to them, then they're going to stop coming to you. So I still have people now from 50 some odd years in business. They get in touch with me and ask me about problems and so forth and so on. Got several professionals here in town that I coach in leadership because they have a deficiency somewhere in their program, and I'm happy to do that.
You was it in Alabama, and the book is called "Work with Me, Not for Me," and it is a great read. Your guide for leadership and team building skills to generate the exceptional leader in you. And leaders are not just born, Larry. I mean, there are like we say, natural born leader, but that can be taught as well. It's a skill that can be taught, and I think a lot of people sometimes they either think it's ego, or they think that it's too braggadocious or something like that. But it is a skill that needs to be taught everywhere, especially in our schools.
Well, so many people think that leadership comes with charisma. And you mentioned a name earlier before we went on air, John F. Kennedy, okay? Mm-hmm. If anybody had charisma, he exudes it. Barack Obama exudes it, okay? You might not like what he says, you might love what he says, but he has charisma. And that commands an audience. But you got to be able to do more than command an audience. You have to find out what the objectives are that the individuals who work for you are trying to accomplish, and then help them get there. When I've worked dozens, if not hundreds of people who've worked for me, and they worked with me instead, and as they grew, maybe their skills took them in a different direction other than where I was. And I didn't bemoan the fact that they got their training with me. I shook their hand, I wished them well, and we moved on. And that's what you have to do. You want people to work with you, because if they're working for you, that doesn't necessarily mean you got their heart and their mind. That means maybe you just got their mind and not their heart. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Larry Buonarrota with us. The book is called "Work with Me, Not for Me." And didn't they call you into a dealership in Alabama or something that was about to go belly up, and you kind of turned things around for them?
I've been to a number of dealerships where I had the opportunity to do that. I was put in place by the Bradshaw organization in the Carolinas to go to a store in Asheville. Beautiful town, okay?
Oh, gorgeous.
But the dealership was on its back, okay? They had one manager there, and he was not in the position that he needed to be in. It's not enough just to have the right people, but you got to have them in the right positions. And that was, and then they had an office manager who was somewhat suspect. And that was it. That's all they had to manage the whole store.
Wow.
So I had to build a team from the ground up. And once you build a team from the ground up and do the job, then 2.5 years later, they asked me to go take over another store, and then another store, and another store. So good people. The Bradshaws, they're fantastic folks.
All right. Larry, what do you think the things are that you want to pass on? There are a lot of things that are just common denominators,
right,
in business,
right,
and it doesn't make any difference what that business is. Like you said, your restaurant business, you were successful, even though you said you didn't see your family much, and the car business, same thing. You got to see your family more often,
right,
and you became very successful at that. But that we can talk about any business that needs leadership and that needs people working with them and not for them.
Well, let's talk about what are the principles or guiding things that you have when you're a leader. I find it falls under something that has the acronym of TASTE, T-A-S-T-E. The first one is truth. You have to be truthful with the people that you work with the people that you work for, and the people who work for you. You've got to be truthful with your customers. You have to demand that people bring you what is actually happening instead of dressing it up. So truth is one of the most important things that you have. That's where you have to start, and people will not believe in you and in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish unless they believe that you're telling them the truth. And once they find out that you're not, well, it's a lost situation. The second one is accountability. Now, the difference between a team member and a coach, between a follower and a leader, is that an individual has to have accountability for themselves. But the leader has to have accountability not only for themselves, but for themselves and the other members of the team. There is a goal that the team has, whether you're coaching a football team or whether you're working with a nonprofit organization like Rotary. There is, no matter what leadership position you have, the folks that you charge with certain things have to be accountable, and you have to be accountable not only for yourself, but for the people that are there. The third thing is the S, T-A-S, support. People know when you support them. You don't have to tell them that you're supporting them. They can see what you're doing. You support them by encouraging them to be better, to do better. When somebody screws up, you walk up and you say, let me ask you what you were trying to accomplish with that, and have you ever thought about doing it this way? Besides, the process that you're supposed to follow does it this way, and it does it this way for a reason. Let me share with you what those are. If they keep screwing up, then you have to make them accountable, okay? But in most cases, if people understand the why and the what, then they'll take care of it. The fourth thing, the T, is trust. And trust is based on truth. The reason we started with truth is because without truth, there is no trust. And the last one is empowerment. I've found out the hard way that as a leader, you can't do it all. You can't be it all. You can't think about everything. As the leader, you have to empower people to be more, do more, so that they can earn more and do better with their lives. So the TASTE module, I think, applies to any business, any organization that is truth, accountability, support, trust, and empowerment. And it's all in my book, by the way.
That's just fantastic, and we highly recommend it. Work With Me, Not For Me by Larry Bonaroto, your guide to leadership and team building skills to generate the exceptional leader in you, and everybody can get that skill and develop it, and this book will be a huge help to them. And Larry, I'd like to see this in our schools.
I think it would be wise, okay? I'm not quite there yet. It only got published in July. We're making some inroads, but I've got to get with the people that do schools. It may not be woke enough because there's just a little too much truth in there.
Oh, geez, what a shame. Yeah, it's amazing. We can talk about the truth, but if everybody says they want to hear it, and when they hear it, they're not. Many times they're not very happy with it. But how are sales?
Sales are good. We could always do better. You can find the book on Amazon. It's in ebook. You can find it in paperback. You can find it like that one, the hardback, like I gave Brittany, or you can get it in audiobook, which is what a lot of people are opting on doing because they spend so much time in our cars these days.
That's right.
You can listen to a bunch of commercials on the radio, or you can listen to something that actually helps you. So you can plug your phone in with a Bluetooth and listen. If you got a 30-minute drive, generally with the audio book, it takes about 5 hours. So you figure 10 days, you're all the way through the book, and you're in good shape.
Very good, Larry. Thanks for coming in. I hope this is the first of many. As a matter of fact, we could certainly use a breath of fresh air and truth.
Well, with any luck, my next one is going to be on salesmanship, and then the one after that is going to be on marketing, and then the one after that is going to be in freedom. Now, depending upon the way things go, I may flip the freedom one over to the next one, but I intend to have a 4-book set before it's over.
Outstanding. Larry Bonaroto, thanks for coming out. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, my friend.
And the leadership.
Yeah, you keep up the good work. You guys keep getting the word out. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Larry Bonaroto, and get the book, Work With Me, Not For Me. We'll be right back.
Sorry to anybody?
So is that a question, or?
That is a question. Do you want to say sorry to anybody?
Well, look, I'll be glad to talk about my record because obviously Mr. Hazel is gravely mistaken. If you look at the executive orders that I signed, we said every business in Georgia was essential. There was a few that we asked to help us stop the spread, flatten the curve, build PPE supplies and hospital bed capacities, because unlike him, I was getting the calls from hospitals saying, hey, we are out of surgical gowns, we're out of masks, we need ventilators. And we were literally working 24/7 to supply those items while also keeping our economy open in this state. And as you know, I was the first state to open the small parts that we asked to close, and our recovery's been as good as any state in the country. We have had 2 record years of economic development because of our business environment, working with the General Assembly to make sure that we're putting Georgians first and Georgia businesses and Georgia workers first, and that's what I'm committed to continuing to do.
Well, welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And we're a week away. We're heading down the home stretch here to save America.
Oh my goodness. I hope we do, Bill. I think the problem with the media is that because they've done so much damage and no one trusts them, it's hard to believe the polling that's coming out. It's hard to, yes, the red wave. However, then people are like, they do this to make it so people just assume we're going to win and they stay home. So we have the opportunity here to have a red wave, but everyone has to get out. They have to vote. You can't sit on your couch. You have to go vote.
Yeah, I was wondering why and when you see how stupid the media is, I was wondering why just about everybody didn't. I was looking for, hopefully I'll get that network job right after the 2016 election. Said everybody was so wrong. I said they should have so much egg on their face, that maybe even omelets, that they're certainly going to fire these people and actually look for somebody that wants to tell the truth. But apparently not.
It got worse, Bill. I feel like it got worse.
So here we are. Yeah, as a matter of fact, double down on stupid. They want it, and they're shoving this crap down your throat, and it's just pathetic. And they all deserve to be fired.
I agree. But do your own research when you go vote.
Yes.
You don't need to believe us. Obviously, we are definitely all about the red wave. We think you should vote for the Republicans in this in every situation at this point. And I think it's just due to the policies that we see from Democrats that have gotten into office. They vote in lockstep. They don't think on their own. They don't represent the people that they go to D.C. to serve. They represent whatever the party says. And I think that we're just not living in the same time we were, even 15, 20 years ago, Bill, where there could be a moderate Democrat that actually would be a good candidate, but I don't think we're seeing that right now.
They're the party of defund the police. They're using the Saul Alinsky rules of accuse the other side of what you're doing when they talk about, the Republicans are causing all these problems. It is actually the Democrats that are doing the demonstrating. They're the ones who are burning down cities, tearing down statues, letting illegal aliens in, and all the drugs and everything that come along with them, abortion, everything else that you could possibly imagine, not going after our own oil. It is absolute treason. No, there's no other word for it. And Brian Kemp was here campaigning last week. Jesse Petrie, one of our great state representatives, was at that rally. Had a chance to talk with Jesse right after what he thought of the rally and also what he thinks about as far as the upcoming Georgia legislative session on the way. So, Jesse, what are your thoughts on the Kemp rally and what's coming up in January?
Georgia State Representative Jesse Petrie. Jesse, big turnout tonight, big support for the governor. Like you said, we're going down the home stretch here.
Yes, indeed.
And I don't know, we're taking nothing for granted, however.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, this governor did a great job of explaining the stark contrast between his policies and those of Stacey Abrams. 90% of her money is coming from out of state, overwhelmingly from California. Her values are not consistent with Georgia values. We got to get our people turned out, vote for the governor that has kept this state prosperous and created opportunity for our people like no other, in spite of a worldwide pandemic. And if Stacey Abrams had been our governor, our children would still be under lockdown in school. Our businesses would still be under lockdown. This governor has led us to prosperity. Great example, the Hyundai project that we just announced right here in our district. We're going to stay laser focused on creating opportunity for our people to rise everybody up. That's what we're all about. You're not going to get that from a Stacey Abrams.
Well, and as a matter of fact, we see all this money coming in from out of state for her, especially the Hollywood crowd.
Yes.
That's
90% out of state.
That's unbelievable.
It's absolutely unbelievable, and it makes it difficult for us because the governor overwhelmingly is raising money in state, and so it's a stark contrast. It's really a shame because what that means is Hollywood, the people in New York, people in California are trying to elect the Georgia governor. Stacey Abrams' values are very consistent with Hollywood and California. They don't hunt in Georgia. And the people need to stand up and make sure that our vote is heard, and that we send Brian Kemp back to the governor's mansion here in Georgia.
Now, we got the state legislature coming up here. What are some of the big things you're thinking about right now for the state?
Well, we got a lot of things on our mind. We've got a lot of extra revenue because we've been so prosperous in the state. Our revenues are far over budget. We're going to do another tax rebate. We're going to give back the taxes that we have received that are over what we budgeted back to the people of Georgia, which, by the way, is unprecedented. We did it last year. We're going to do it again. We're going to do actually a property tax, one-time property tax rollback to help people during these inflationary times. We're going to continue to keep the gas tax suspended, as we've been doing since May, to help people fight Joe Biden's inflation. All of these are issues we're going to try to do to help our people where it really matters. And meanwhile, we're not going to spend our time or efforts wasted on social justice nonsense, such as trying to see that men compete in girls' sports. That's what you're going to get out of the left. That's not what you're going to get from us. We're going to focus on the things that really matter to Georgia citizens. Prosperity, economic prosperity, lower taxes, jobs, job creation, job building policies. That's what we're focused on.
Well, you got to know that when they've got nothing to run on, so their number one thing is abortion. You know that they've got nothing.
They support abortion into the birth canal, late-term abortions, and that's what they're pressing is they find somehow our bill draconian. It is not. Our bill protects the life of a healthy baby at heartbeat, but it has exceptions for life of the mother, rape, incest, ectopic pregnancies, miscarriages. All of those things are accepted, and Stacey Abrams' ads are lies because she's suggesting otherwise. And that, by the way, is reprehensible. The facts are what they are. That heartbeat bill protects the life of a healthy baby when we detect the heartbeat. And that's reasonable and fair when you compare it to the other side. The Democratic stance is no policy that would ever limit abortion even into the third trimester and even into the birth canal. That is inconsistent with Georgia voters. Absolutely inconsistent with Georgia voters.
All right. Jesse, keep up the great work, pal. Stay in touch.
Thank you, my good friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, he did a great job articulating that bill, didn't he? Just laying out the facts. And I think that's the thing that they've really pushed on is that there are no exceptions in that heartbeat bill, but there is. So that's why we ask you guys to do your own research and not believe the media.
State Representative Jesse Peter has done a great job for us. Well, we just had Halloween, and I don't understand. We have with Christmas coming up, and I still don't believe in celebrating Christmas till after Thanksgiving.
Hey, that's me too.
But
tradition.
But with Christmas coming up, the poinsettias are a big item, and they are so beautiful, and they come into a variety of colors. I don't know why people throw those away. Let them die and just throw them away after Christmas. I plant them in my garden, and most of the time, unless there's a really bad cold snap, they will continue to thrive. And I still haven't gotten one to turn back red or anything, but they're beautiful green leaves. Okay. I understand that you're supposed to cover them up and make them dark for a while or something, and they'll get red again or whatever color you happen to plant. But they are so. I highly recommend that you start a little garden and keep the poinsettias around. They are beautiful. They're nice items for conversation starters or whatever. Pumpkins the same way. Your Halloween pumpkin that you might get ready to throw away if you have the real one is great for composting. You can cut them up, get rid of all the glitter and the paint or anything like that, candle wax or anything of that nature that you might have had in them. But if you had real pumpkins, you can chop those up. You can recycle them, you can put them into composting. You can donate them to places like gardens that are around here, botanical gardens. You could take them out to botanical gardens here. So please recycle your pumpkins, and I hope you had a great Halloween. Welcome to the month of November. Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yes, and that's going to do it for us today, Bill. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please catch us on YouTube, Rumble, Vimeo, GREnewsmedia.com, or you can catch us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And remember, you can't spell Democrat without RAT. See you tomorrow.